They were a young couple starting off with nothing and trying to make something. So he had about 3 jobs. One of them was as a butcher, I think. And he would buy his own meat, and they opened up a storefront, a meat market, where she worked all day selling the meat. And then he'd pick up the kids from school after his job, and then she'd get home and get the kids to bed, and then the next day they'd go through it all over again. But unfortunately, the city decided to redo the street in front of their market, cutting off, a good chunk of their income. And that was bad, because they weren't going to be able to have that market for a year. And so they were very strict on their budget, but they couldn't pay their heat bill, and they didn't have very many groceries in the house, and it was getting to be kind of a bad situation. But out of pride, they didn't tell people what their deal was because they didn't want people to know. And that's a mistake. We're always supposed to share with the people in our lives when we have a need and they can fill it. So finally they asked one of their parents, who turned them down, even though they were retired and living in the South U.S. and probably could have afforded a few pennies. And the other parent wouldn't help them either. So nobody was going to give to them, and all they could do was pray. They had joined a good church, but they didn't tell anybody what was going on with them. Well, one morning they woke up and there were a bunch of sacks of groceries at their door, and in their car, which they didn't lock at night, was a big wad of cash. And somebody had paid their heat bill. And they rejoiced, and it was a real turnaround for them, and everything was fine after that. They recently have celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. They've had a lot of kids who are all doing very well. And ironically, one of the moms who had turned them down for help way back when needed help herself, and she's living on their property now in her old age. And they have given to others over and over and over again because somebody gave to them.